Poštovani gledalci, gost foruma je šef kancelarije Evropske banke za obnovu I razvoj u Crnoj Gori, Giulio Moreno. So, welcome, and of course, good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
First question for you is, based on which indicators you stated that the growth of GDP in Montenegro will be lower than previously projected?
Well, clearly this is an analysis that are made by my colleagues in the office of the chief economist in London and validated by data of World Bank, IMF, etc. And we use the usual data. It means GDP growth, inflation, etc. Is not a problem that concerns only Montenegro. Is an overall problem that concerns the region, and the growth in the region is expected to be lower than before the crisis. Let's say for Montenegro, we expected a growth between 1.5% and 1.8%. It was lower than we expected last year, but there is no terrible changes.
There are speculations that the start of building up infrastructure for electricity transmission between Montenegro and Italy largely depends on a loan that Montenegro required from EBRD in amount of 65 million euros. Is that true? And if yes, when do you expect to have final decision relating this issue?
Well, our role will be important, but not so important. If you consider that the undersea cable will cost 700-800 million euro, and this will be financed by Terna, that the company that will be. We are in discussion with the government in order to finance, to co-finance this the section from Lasva to Plevia, the section in the land. Next week we will have meetings with the CGS and the government to decide which formula, because most probably, at least for the first financing, will be a corporate loan, not involving the sovereign guarantee, the guarantee from the state. We plan to approve the loan, let's say, during the month of May, because it's important to complete this, let's say, process of approval by May, because then there is the tender that have to be prepared, etc. Because the idea is that to start the physical construction of the cable, both parts, the undersea cable and the cable on the land, beginning of next year.
Next year, okay. Montenegro last year made quite debts. Do you believe that it's possible to maintain financial stability of the system here in our country without taking new loans?
Well, this is a little bit a chicken egg, because this country needs investment in infrastructure. A developing country like Montenegro could not decide to stop investment in infrastructure, etc., for a bunch of reasons. Of course.
Is it a question of decision or just?
Well, it's a question. Well, the government could try, and they already started to reduce the normal expenditure. It means to be concerned and to give priority on the project that they want to finance, but a strong reduction of expenditure. It means stopping with new projects could be a negative element, because really the country needs a lot of, only to mention roads. There is a need to upgrade the existing road. If this country wants to further develop tourism, etc., you need to have access road, you need to have a port, you need to have an airport.
We have two airports.
Yes, but airport with connection, not airport without a lot of connection.
Okay. One of your last researches showed that Montenegrin households felt the crisis a lot harder than the people throughout Western Europe. Why do you think that's so? Is it a bad management crisis, bad infrastructure? What?
No, well,
Some
there is some difference between the neighboring countries, but basically the crisis hit all the region. Our household that been hit in Montenegro is quite similar on our household that been hit in Italy. This is to give you the context, because it's clear that a country that is strongly dependent from import has been strongly affected. But a country that is, from a certain point of view, probably also because of tourism, has price pretty high in comparison with the region. Clearly, these elements with linked with the financial crisis created a difficult situation. But situation, if you want, the other side of the coin is that this is a country that has a huge potential. It could recover much faster than our country.
So, what do you believe that are the most important fields in economic sector, of course, relating economic development of Montenegro? What are those fields?
In my opinion, there are three sectors that could represent the engine of the growth of the economy in Montenegro. The first one is energy, and energy talking about all the aspects of energy, transmission with this future project that will link Montenegro with Italy, and this could allow Montenegro to become an energy hub in the Western Balkans, because basically this energy will not only be sold in the future by Montenegro, but also energy produced in Bosnia or in Serbia will be transported by the cable, and this will be clearly a positive effort for Montenegro, because they will get royalties. This first aspect. Second aspect, again, of the energy. With the existing construction of the cable, I expect a number of new investors that would like to come to Montenegro to invest in energy, to produce energy, in particular in green energy, hydropower, wind, biomass, etc. And this could be really important, because all this energy could be sold, namely to Italy, etc. It could bring money to the country. The other sector is tourism. Of course, I'm not saying something new. I'm not discovering anything. But in my opinion, Montenegro have to look at the tourism in a different way. It means to avoid mistake of massive real estate investment with 100 or 1,000 of new apartments, etc.
Haven't we done it already?
Well, unfortunately, I've been done in. Look at Budva. That is, I remember Budva 10 years ago. That it was a nice, small, fantastic town. Now is a sort of ghost town that for 10 months in the year is empty and works in. I'm saying that nothing against Budva because, but the concept is to try to do some form of tourism that could be operational through the years. It's not possible only to be linked with seasonal tourism, because Montenegro has a fantastic climate, has mountains. If there will be some investment like golf course, things like that, you can really extend the season, and this could really create bring money to the country.
So are we supposed to do that with Montenegrin money, or we should rely to direct foreign investments?
Well, it's clear that if whatever will arrive in foreign direct investment, it will be welcome, because but I see preference in foreign direct investment for investment that are not only real estate, but in investment that can produce wealth. Because real estate, at the end of the day, if are made by local investors, that doesn't change a lot. What is important that to create the condition for foreign direct investment to continue to be attractive, because we have to not to forget that in 2008, 2009, 2010, a lot of money came to Montenegro. Last year we recorded a decrease, because last year the total amount of foreign direct investment was roughly 600 million euro, etc., almost half of 2 years before. we have to continue to create the condition for attract investor, and the conditions are not only a favorable taxation, etc., but also to create to strengthen the feeling of security for the investor that comes here, because they know that Montenegro is a stable country in which you can do investment and you can have an horizon, not a short-term horizon, but a long-term horizon. And the last sector in which I see a lot of potential is agribusiness, because this country has all the natural resources, let's say sun, water, land, to produce some niche product. Montenegro will never become a country in which you will produce tons of apples or tons, but you can have fantastic production, and again, in a view of integration with European Union, you can produce some specific, you will have a fantastic market. But in order to do that, is also very important to go through all the steps of certification, because it seems incredible, but the cheese produced in Montenegro is fantastic, but you don't find in any supermarket, even in Podgorica, you find cheese from Slovenia or from Germany. Why? Because they are not the right packaging, the certification. And this is something that will be really important. As EBRD, we will try to finance and to sustain the creation of the infrastructure for agribusiness. It means creation of warehouses, creation of a cold chain, because you can produce cheese, but then you have to keep it in a storage. It will be, as I mentioned, very important to do certification, and also to start again in the agribusiness to develop fisheries. This is crazy that a country like Montenegro that have fantastic fish have not a single fishing fleet. There is not an industry for fish, apart some restaurants that have their own fishermen that sell. But this is a big potential, and you have two huge markets: Italian market, but Serbian market too.
So we have to learn
and to invest in this kind of infrastructure, because this is the way to develop seriously this problem. In my opinion, again, this country at the end of the day have not a lot of problem of heavy industry, because apart from CAP and the steel factory in Nixie, there is not many other things. Well, let's focus on what will be environmental friendly, sustainable, and that could create money.
So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.